In today's best bet video, I cover it all. An NBA player prop, an NBA total, a college basketball spread, and a revenge money line parlay. This is the free three. Let's go. What's up, guys? It's your boy No Believing Bad with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and make some money. Now, yesterday was a frustrating, oh my goodness, such a heartbreaking day. No wins on the board, 0-2-1. We push on the Suns and Nuggets under. That game went into overtime. I mean, the under was looking so free. And guess what? We go into overtime, and then guess what? We tie at 224 on the under there. That's why I always like to pay for the hook, right? I would rather, okay, I don't rather lose than push, but I would have rather paid for that 224.5, and guess what? We would have cashed. Even if we had to pay 120 odds for it, or minus 120 odds, it would have been worth it, but hey, it happens. We also do lose on Austin P on the hook as that game goes into overtime and they only win the game by 3. We gave out the 3.5, so that's a loss. And then the plus 300 parlay, everything hit except for Illinois, the home team. The times that I've taken Purdue this year, they lost on the road. The times I fade them on the road, guess what? They win. So it's just a frustrating night. It's been a frustrating week or starting March for us. I've been trying to give you guys winners in at least one conference game so far. But today I'm going to take a little bit of a break from that because we just have a lot of smaller schools. And, you know, it's bit us in the ass the last 2 days, I'm going to be honest. But we got the big conference tournaments going to start here in about the next week or so. So trust me, when those games are going on all day, I'll give you guys plenty of picks and plays in those conference tournaments to make up for what we're going to be doing today. But like I said, to make up for the kind of the lackluster March, I've got 4 best bets for you in today's video. So if you can, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. So this way you can continue to support us, stay up with all the latest picks and plays that we're dropping. And you can see our year-to-date record right here. Slow start for the month, 7-12-1 right now, but it's okay. There's a lot of March ahead of us and a lot of basketball, so I'm not worried. A lot of time to come back here. So let's dive into these best bets. For my first best bet of the day, we are going to go with the tried and true NBA total that has been hitting at a crazy rate. Unders continue to cash at a great rate. Our Suns and Nuggets under would have hit yesterday if it wasn't for overtime. But hey, it happens. Let's run it back today with 2 teams I think that can go under today because they've been on under trends all year long and also over the last few weeks. Let's go with the Clippers. Let's go with the Rockets. Under 224.5, running it back with a similar number. But you see that hook, I'm paying for that hook. But they're giving it to us at minus 110. If your book doesn't have the hook, make sure you pay for the hook. Now, I like both of these teams here in this under situation because they have been absolutely printing towards the under this year. On the year, the Rockets are 26-33 to the under, with 2 pushes, and then meanwhile, the Clippers are 23-35 to the under with 2 pushes. So both of these teams have been under teams. And when you look at the splits as well, because the Rockets are home in this matchup today, guess what? The Rockets 12-17 to the under at home with 2 pushes. Meanwhile, the Clippers 12-18-1 to the under on the road. So that's what I'm looking for. Again, the trends are telling us to go under. The Rockets have gone under in 5 straight games in a row, and they played some pretty decent offensive opponents. They played the Spurs, they played Phoenix twice, they played OKC twice. All 5 of those games went under. Meanwhile, the Clippers have gone under in 4 of the last 5 games themselves, and they played some pretty decent opponents as well. Milwaukee went under, and that was a total of 222.5, so that was lower than this number. They played Minnesota, another playoff team. That total was 219.5. That game went under. Their game against the Wizards, that did go over, but it's the Wizards. They don't play no defense, so we can throw that out. Then the Lakers, 236.5 total in that game. Flew under the total of that game against the Lakers. And then the Kings as well, total of 239 in that matchup. That game went under as well. So I'm not overthinking it. We're going to keep going with the 70% hit rate that's been happening in the NBA right now. Playoff teams with something to play for. If you look at the NBA standings right now in the Western Conference, super competitive. The Clippers right now are in the 4th seed. They're about 3 games behind the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are currently at the number 1 seed. They're 2 games behind the Nuggets, who are on the 3 seed. And they're only 3 games ahead of the Pelicans at the 5 seed. So they cannot afford to drop any games, especially against teams like the Rockets, who right now find themselves outside of play contention because they're sitting right below that play-in spot. The Warriors are occupying that 10th seed, which is the last play-in seed. The Jazz are 11th, and then the Rockets are 12th, but they're only about 5 games back from where the Warriors are. So, I mean, they do have some mountain to climb and some momentum that they have to gain. They've won 2 straight games, which is good. Then you also have a team like the Mavericks, who are right now in the 8th seed, who are reeling. They've lost 3 straight games. So anything can happen over this last month or so in the NBA. So for me, I'm just going to go with what's been working. Teams that are playing for something right now, teams that are having to play a little bit more competitive of basketball because they have to fight for seeding, they have to fight for positioning. Every game is mattering now, and that means defense is taking a precedent. Both of these teams have been cashing into the under, so we're just going to continue to go with the NBA trend. Let's go under 224.5 as our first best bet of the day. Now for our second best bet of the day, we are going to run to the college basketball slate. I'm going to give you another situational angle. We've been exploiting this over the last few weeks. I kind of went away from it over the last few days because I wanted to bet conference tournament games. Well, we're going to run it back here with a team that has something to play for in a very competitive conference. And we're going to go to the A10, and we're going to take the Richmond Spiders as they take on St. Joseph's at home. And I'm going to take Richmond -5.5, -110 odds. Now, if you want to throw them in a money line parlay, be my guest. I'm not opposed to that. But I think Richmond covers this number and wins this game pretty easily because of the situation. So look at the A10 right now. Super competitive. Richmond, the #1 team in the A10. I bet you didn't know that. I bet you weren't expecting that at the beginning of the year when you look at some of the other teams. Now, let's look at the conference standings in the A10. Richmond, 14-2, #1 team in the conference. #2 team in the conference. Loyola Chicago, 13-3 in conference, only 1 game behind. Dayton, #3 in the conference, 13-4 in the conference, so only 1 game and a half behind. VCU, 4th in the conference at 11-6, only 3.5 games behind. And then UMass, 10-7 at about 4.5 games back. So the top 3 seeds, top 4 seeds, super competitive there in the A10 with only 2 games remaining in the regular season, and you really want to get a top seed in this conference. Not only do you get to play the worser teams, but also the seeding matters because you get a few buys in the first few rounds. That really matters in some of these bigger conferences. And now when you look at Richmond in this #1 seed, it's really their conference to lose at this point because they're 1 game ahead of Loyola Chicago, right? They play St. Joseph's today, and they go to George Mason in a few days on Friday or Saturday to end off the conference, and those are 2 very winnable games for them. Now let's look at Loyola Chicago's remaining schedule. They play Davidson today, which is basically a pick-em, and that the line is moving in favor of Davidson, and that game is on the road, so people are expecting that Davidson is going to win. And then they play LaSalle, which should be a win for Loyola Chicago. So anything can happen with Loyola Chicago. If they drop tonight's game and Richmond loses, then it kind of helps out Richmond. But Richmond has to play with the mindset that Loyola Chicago is going to handle business and win because, I mean, they've been doing it all year, especially in conference. Now, Dayton, on the other hand, they have 1 game left against VCU, so that's not going to be any easy matchup for them, and they need a little bit of help in order to kind of be able to gain that #1 seed. So now you can kind of see what's at stake in this A10 conference, and it's Richmond's conference to lose, and they're at home today. KenPom has this as a 7-point win for Richmond, which I do like, and I do think that happens. Richmond has won 5 straight games, 6 of their last 7 games, and they started off this conference 8-0. And at one point in this season, they were actually on an 11-game win streak from the middle of December all the way to the beginning of February. So this team is used to winning this year. They're 22-7 on the year. They're used to being competitive playing against good opponents. And the reason why they've been so good this year is because of their defense. They're ranked 33rd in defensive efficiency. They're holding opponents to 46% shooting from the field, which is 19th in all of college basketball. They limit the amount of 3-pointers that they give up, 43rd in all of college basketball in terms of the amount of 3 points that they allow, and they also defend the paint really well as well. 26 in all of college basketball in terms of 2-point percentage field goal on the defensive side of the ball. Now, on offense, they're not as strong as they are defensively, but the key stat that I really like with Richmond is they're 2nd in all of college basketball in turnover percentage on the offensive side. So they don't turn over the ball a lot. They're not giving you extra possessions. They're not allowing you to run out in transition, and they shoot the ball from 3 at a very high rate. 37% from the 3-point line, which is 32nd in all of college basketball. So for me, I just like this matchup today for them. A lot of things to play for. St. Joseph's has been reeling, 8-8 in conference. They've won 2 of their last 5 games, so nothing really impressive. But anytime they step up in competition, they've lost. On the road at VCU, lost. On the road at Duquesne, lost. On the road at Loyola Chicago, lost. At home against Dayton, lost. At home against St. Bonaventure, lost. And they are lost earlier in the year against Rhode Island and St. Louis, so 2 losses to start conference play. So those are 2 terrible losses to their resume. So for me, I'm just not overthinking it. Richmond has a lot to play for. If you want to put them on a money line parlay with another team because you don't want to lay the 5.5, be my guest. But St. Joseph's struggled all year against when they step up in class. They don't have that strong of a defense. And the thing about them is they give up a lot of three-pointers as well. And that's what Richmond does well. And they don't force a lot of turnovers. So for me, it's kind of strength against weakness and then also the situational spot. So give me Richmond minus 5.5 as our second best bet of the day. Now, for our third best bet of the day, we're going to go to an NBA player prop, and I'm going to go with a guy who really needs to step it up. Well, he's been playing well, but last game was absolutely atrocious, so that's why I really like this spot, and we're kind of getting a short number because of it. And I'm going to go with Stephen Curry. Over 26.5 points at minus 110 odds. Now, I'm not overthinking this. This number is low, so if that does scare you, then I understand that. But the Warriors are playing the Bucks at home today, and because this game is at home, I really like the Warriors, and the fact they got smacked against the Celtics on Sunday, I think they have something to play for. They're going to have a little bit of pride in the way that they come out today, and they should be able to score some buckets. And you know what? The Bucks are still one of the worst teams in the NBA in terms of defending point guards. They give up the fourth most points per game to point guards, and then Stephen Curry, that means what? Opportunity for him to go crazy. He's averaging 28.4 points per game at home this year, so you love to see that over this total. And then last matchup, he only played 17 minutes against the Celtics. He played atrocious in that game, 2 of 13 from the field, 0 of 9 from the three-point line, and like I mentioned, he only played 17 minutes, so he should be pretty rested in this game. And I think we're getting value on this number because of some of his recent performances. He's only gone over this number in 1 of the last 6 games, and that was a 31-point game against the Knicks at the Garden. He only had 25 against the Raptors in the game after that. He had 20 against the Nuggets, 15 against the Hornets. But when he's played decent competition like the Lakers back on the 22nd of February, he had 32 points. And then he had 41 against the Clippers. He had 25 against the Jazz. He had 30 against the Suns. He had 42 against the Pacers. So these are all teams that to me are very similar to the Bucks. 1, because they give up points to guards, but 2, they're more competitive playoff teams. So for me, this is a game that the Warriors are going to wake up for after that ass smacking, and this is a game I'm not trying to overthink it. If the Warriors are going to win this game, which is their favorite on the books right now, then Stephen Curry has to be an integral part of that offense to make that happen. 26.5 points is a low number for this guy, for a superstar, and literally if he hits 3-4 threes, I mean, we're right there in contention with the way that he's been shooting the ball, the way the Warriors have been playing. And again, I just like the situational spot because of the bounce back after that ass whooping they took in their last game. So give me Stephen Curry over 26.5 points. I think we're getting value on a short line. Your book might have 27.5, so make sure you shop around. I do see 26.5 on a few books like BetMGM, on DraftKings. It's out, a few out there like BetRivers, so make sure you shop around to get this 26.5 number. Now, I mentioned I do have one last best bet for you, giving you a little extra bonus pick today, and it's a money line parlay. I called it the revenge parlay, but really only one team has a revenge angle here. But I like both of these teams to grab the win, and we're going to go with Houston and Tennessee to grab the W's today, minus 120 odds. Now, the reason why I call it a money line revenge parlay is because keep in mind that Tennessee lost to South Carolina earlier this year at home in that matchup, and I think this is a revenge spot for Tennessee where they are ready to come back and get their lick back after that home loss that they took at the hand of South Carolina back on January the 30th, where they lost 63-59. In that game, they were double-digit favorites. So, I mean, come on, talk about a major upset. Since that game, Tennessee's only lost one game. That was to Texas A&M on the road. But besides that, they've won 6 straight games, picking up key wins against Texas A&M, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, Auburn, and Alabama. We saw that on Saturday at Alabama. So a huge win for them here. I think Tennessee is one of the best teams in the country right now, in all honesty. I mean, I do think they're going to get upset in the tournament, but that's I'll get to that in a little bit on a later show. But I think Tennessee wins this game on the road at South Carolina. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an easy win for them. That's why I just want to take the money line, because it might be a 1-point game. South Carolina is a good team. They've been playing well, currently on a 3-game win streak themselves, but give me Tennessee on the money line to handle business. And then for the second leg, Houston is taking on UCF. And ever since UCF picked up that early win in their second conference game against Kansas, just hasn't been the same for them all year. I mean, that defense that we thought was going to maybe put them in contention, it just hasn't been the same. They've dropped several games. They're 6-10 in conference play. They've lost to teams like Iowa State, West Virginia, Cincinnati, twice, Texas Tech. And I mean, I'm not saying none of those teams aren't good, but they ain't Houston. Houston's one of the best teams in the country. They're ranked number 1 on KenPom, number 1 defense in the country, number 14th in offensive efficiency, number 4th in turnover percentage. This Houston team can play basketball. They're currently on a 7-game win streak themselves and have actually won 12 of their last 13 games. The only loss came on the road to Kansas back on February the 3rd. So for me, not overthinking it, UCF doesn't have the offense to be able to keep up with Houston in this matchup. So give me Houston on the money line. Give me Tennessee on the money line. I know I normally try to give you plus 100 value, but we're only at minus 120 on this one. If you do want to get to plus 100 value, then I would take a very big favorite to pair with this. So you can maybe add Kentucky, maybe you could add McNeese State, maybe you can add Lamar, or maybe you can add SMU. Those are the only favorites that I really trust that are like minus 800 or higher to get you near or at plus 100 value. Don't throw New Mexico in there because they've been just, I mean, they should get the win, but New Mexico has just been so lackluster up and down this year. So just go with these two teams and then maybe a big, heavy money line favorite like Kentucky, SMU, McNeese State, or Lamar to get you over the hump to get a little bit more juice on that, all right? Well, that's it for me today, my friends. A little bit of a longer video today, but I just wanted to give you guys a little extra picks, a little bit more analysis today because I know yesterday I went kind of quick because I didn't really have the ability to record it in the location that I was at. But 4 best bets, 4 winners for you today on this Wednesday card. Give me Clippers and Rockets under 224.5. Give me Richmond Spiders minus 5.5 in the spread. Give me Stephen Curry over 26.5 points. And give me Houston and Tennessee on a money line parlay with a few other added favorites in there that you can get some extra juice. For more picks and plays and some of the other winners that I'm taking throughout the day, click the link in the description. Join the free Discord group. Appreciate all the love and support as always. Let's have a day, and hopefully we can celebrate a 4-0 day. Let's get it.